Amen. 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 Thank you. Thank you, Evelyn. Once again, welcome to all our participants. My name is Caroline Wadege. I'll be your moderator today. And with us, we'll be taking this session with Joan Karanja, who is the CEO, Music in Color, and she's also a music therapist. She'll be our main panelist today. With us also, we have Dr. Pauline Gitonga, who is a daughter, who is a sister, who's a wife, who's a mother, home educator, and vet. And she'll be sharing with us her experience, her journey, what she has learned using music therapy, and how it has made an impact in her child's life. So without much further ado, I'd like to start with a small clip just to set the tone of this webinar. And thereafter, I will bring on board Dr. Pauline to just share with us her story. So this is a clip showing, showing a journey of a caregiver whose son is on the spectrum and how they began, just a minute, and how they began their journey and where they ended it and how it was for them. So just a minute, it will be showing in a few. So in case it does not reflect on your screen, let me know. So the name of the young boy is Benji, and Benji has autism as it loads. And what the parents did to help Benji. So okay. So I hope we can all see it. Should be showing in a few. Can we all see? Let me start this. Can we see? Sorry, I've just been informed that you cannot hear. Let's try that again. Can you hear now? Haina sauti. So now what do I do about it? Sorry, dear. My apologies for the sound. As we work on that, I think I can bring in, we can move from the video, and then when we are up and it's all okay, we can play it again. My apologies for that. Yeah, sorry about that. We'll work on the volume. So let me bring on board our caregiver, Pauline. Dr. Pauline is here with us. And Dr. Pauline, karibu sana.
Thank you, Caroline.
Yeah, it is an honor to have you.
Yes.
Yeah, please share with us your story a little bit.
All right.
Introduce yourself. Yeah.
All right. My name is Pauline Gitonga. As I've been introduced, I'm a daughter, sister. The reason I used all those titles is mainly because when you deal with a neurodiverse child, you need that support system to help them thrive and for you not to lose your mind, because sometimes it's a very difficult journey. So I have 2 children. The neurodiverse is the second born, and we did early intervention because him being a second born, he had a brother, and you could see there were different ways he was developing. And so that is, for me, early intervention actually really works. So Sudi has what we call global development delay. He has initially, at the beginning, we thought he was autistic, but through several testing, they've settled on global development delay. But remember, this is a spectrum. He still exhibits some signs that we can't quite tell where it is. I'm a mother, of course, I've said. I'm a wife. Yes, that is just me as an introduction. And I live in Nairobi, and I homeschool Sudi, mainly because he was in the mainstream system, but we discovered he was not learning. He needed to learn differently, and that is why I homeschool him.
Thank you.
So
thank
Caroline,
you.
Back to you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Pauline. We appreciate. Now, when
you can just call me Pauline.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
When did you learn about your son? How old was he? What signs did you see?
So Sudi was a very quiet baby, and he used to laugh a lot. And so there was no concern until he turned 1. Then he went silent. He was just lost in his own world. He preferred to If he's outside, he preferred to be in the grass. And then he used to love the feel of soil and grass on his hands. So he could spend the whole day with Sunny just outside, just ruffling the grass and the soil. And if he's inside, he used to have this, sorry, I need to, oh, I agree. Yeah, okay, we have a clock because also they'll explain to you. He loves movement. So when he was young, that around 1 year, yes, he was not talking, he was not verbalizing mama, baba, he was just lost in his own world. But when you engage him, he'll look at you, he will laugh at you when you talk with him. A lot of tantrums because he was still not communicating and we couldn't understand what his needs are sometimes. But what he used to do, he used to spend his time, like the sufuria top, spinning. He used to love spinning things. So initially we thought, okay, this is just a fascination, it will pass. But as he went into 2 years, he's still not verbal. Then we're like, okay, this is not normal. Then of course he had delayed milestones. He sat late, he crawled late, he walked at around maybe 2 years. That's when we started getting concerned. But when you talk to the pediatricians, they're like, boys delay, boys are that. So you keep quiet and say, he'll catch up. Yeah, soon he'll catch up. Then at 3 years, we got worried. We're like, no, there's something going on here. So we thought, let's take him to school, preschool. We have a Montessori where his brother was. So he went to school. After about a week, we were told, no, there's something wrong with your son. We're like, why? He doesn't like to stay in class. He just wants to be outside and he's not engaging with everybody. So they're like, you know what? Go check whether he actually hears. So yeah, initially as a mother, you're like, okay, but this boy hears because when you're opening the door, you see him running because he's seen the door open. When you turn on the shower, you see him running to the shower. We said, anyway, let's just go and have it tested. So yes, we were tested. We were told he's hearing, but definitely there's something developmentally different about him. And that's now how we were introduced to a speech therapist. So we still started speech therapy at around 3 years. And just like any human being, when you see a success, you think you have crossed that hurdle. Yeah. So at around 3.5, 4 years, he started talking. He loves music. So he started singing. Actually, that's what he did. He used to hum songs, nursery rhymes. He used to hum. So you could tell, yeah, this is that nursery rhyme. So he used to start by humming songs. Then he finally spoke. Then we were like, now we are done. We are good to go. So we took him back to school. We took him to a Montessori because I always believe the Montessori system or the multisensory approach really works well for early childhood. So at 4, we took him to Montessori. He was there for 4, and he was 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. But within that time he's in school, you think maybe it's too early to intervene. Let him just go on the next year. Maybe he'll catch on. But then I noticed he has a very good memory. So he could say his ABCs, but it was just like a song. When you write A's on the board, he doesn't recognize the sound. When you do, because by 5, 6, they're supposed to be doing the CVC words, the 3-letter words. When you write cat, he won't. But when you draw a cat, he'll tell you it's a cat. So you're like, okay, yeah. I struggled a bit to understand what was going on. And then, sometimes in schools, they also don't like to label too early because I think between 4, 5, 6, really you can't say what is happening with the child, or that's what we thought. So when he turned 6 years, and 6 years is when they're supposed to graduate to like grade 1 or year 1, the school calls us and tells us, oh, your son can't move because he's not learned his foundation, literacy and numeracy. We're like, what do you mean? He's been here for 3 years. Then when I reflect back, I'm like, yeah, actually, I never saw any textbook. I never saw any exercise book. I never saw any worksheet sent home. And every time I asked, I was told, we do these things. We don't like to burden them with homework. And you take it because, of course, you don't want also to be those parents, I want to do this. So then we start getting worried because now he's supposed to go to grade 1 and the school is suggesting he repeats. And I'm like, okay, fine. Even if he rewinds, if he repeats the year, what are you going to do differently that you've not done for the last 2 to 3 years? So at that point is when they told us maybe we should seek a second opinion. And Sudi is 12 now, so that was about quite years back, and we never had this body of experts or online connection. So we were groping in the dark. So the person we referred to was an OT. The OT did her assessment. They're like, yes, he has fine motor skill delay, he has global development delay, and that's it. Like, now we need to do therapy. So we started therapy. We chose not to repeat, so we went to a new school. But in the new school, they were good to us. They're like, okay, you might need a shadow teacher. You might need to see an education consultant to give you an IEP. So we did a shadow teacher first, because now with the education consultant, I couldn't quite tell what they were going to do. And the shadow teacher seemed to work. So we do year one. That was 2019. We do year one. Then as 2019 is closing, we do an assessment, and I realized we're still back to square one. This boy does not understand his sounds. He does not understand his numeracy. So it became critical, because now you're doing 7 years. Then COVID came immediately in 2020, March 20, we closed. And for me, COVID was a blessing. I know it was a bad thing, but it was also a blessing for my son, because now you sat at home and there's nothing much to do other than try to log into the online school. And as you log in, you see the challenges he's facing. So we are like, you know what, we can't go on this way. So it happens around that time, a friend of mine referred me to a consultant called Nazia. She's based in the UK. And another lady called Sila Allen, who is an educational consultant. Sila, we booked a meeting with her just before we closed for COVID, and she did an assessment on Sudi. And the verdict was just very clear. It's like, this child needs to go back to the foundation. And he can't go back to the foundation because he's supposed to be in year two. Year two don't do sounds and numbers and numeracy. So you probably have to consider homeschooling. Then COVID hit, and we started homeschooling. And with the help of a lady called Nazia Ansaria, who is an inclusive education expert in the UK, she did an assessment, and we came up with an IEP. And through COVID, that's how we started learning, slowly by slowly. But the most interesting thing about inclusive education is how small you can break down a curriculum, and even just repetition. So what we learned with him, he learns very well through repetition, and you don't overwhelm him. And those are some of the things that have worked for us with regard to, So he's 11, he's working at, it takes time. We don't fuss about going through the curriculum, or rather the year, because when we took him back to the mainstream, it's about finishing. You're finishing this topic, you're finishing this topic, this. So Sudi is very good at retaining information, so he fools many people. So during the term, he will answer questions, but ask him the same question after a 1 month break, like somebody had erased his memory. So we quickly realized we can't lie to ourselves that he will fit in a mainstream system, because the mainstream system always are exam-based and time-based. And this does not work for some of the neurodiverse learners. And so we are back to homeschool. We take our time. We break down even the smallest unit. The other day, I remember when we were doing place value, it took me 2 months to explain place value as a topic that takes a week to teach. And you use concrete, you use all types of methods. But once they get it, they get it. And the narrative that leave this, they will learn it next year, does not work. Because when you're doing early years and up to grade 3, year 3, these are foundation. If you don't take care of that foundation, there is no multiplication, there is no addition and subtraction they are going to learn. So it has been a journey, it is still a journey. We've undergone quite a number of therapy. The speech therapy was the first one. Of course, with the fine motor skill deficiencies, we did occupational therapy, and with something we call PAGS, which we'll talk later on. And then now there's music therapy, and music therapy was more of, okay, he's in homeschool, he can't learn from 8 to 5. Let me start music. So I didn't start with Joanne first, I started with another teacher. But the other teacher used to teach music when Sudi is standing at the door and him is the one playing the piano. You understand him? Because he couldn't engage him. Then I remember somebody sent me a link to music therapy, and I'm like, all right, let me see. Then I told Joanne, okay, come. And it was about sometime, I think it's 2020, 2021, yeah, or 2022, December. I'm like, Joanne, okay, come. I was not in, just try. So the only thing I told the nanny is just make sure that Sudi sits. If he sits, then she has the job. That was my only requirement. He sits and listens to her for half an hour. And he actually sat and listened to her. Then I remember my nanny calling me. She's like, this teacher is amazing. He was very calm. He listened to her and he enjoyed himself. And that is how we started our journey. And for me, I didn't have any expectations other than one, him enjoying himself, and two, to develop his fine motor skills. Yeah, because now with the piano, I thought that would be an avenue. But the most amazing thing is that if you read Sudi's education assessment report and you see him playing the piano, they're like day and night. Even the consultants, I normally send them videos of him playing. They're like, how is he reading music? How is he coordinating? Because he has what they call visual processing. So sometimes he can be reading, but he doesn't know how to track from that sheet to the book. So sometimes you have to do like a ruler, you know. But with music, he reads and and it flows. So it is a very fascinating skill. Even when I send videos, people are like, okay, we don't understand how he's doing this, but continue. And I credit the music therapy to opening up some parts of his cognitive abilities, yeah, and then his self-regulation, because Miss Joan is not, we call her Miss Joan in our house. She's just not only a teacher, she also like does a holistic approach. So she'll tell him, you know, there's no slouching. When you're playing the piano, have your back straight, your shoulders back, and then you have to be calm and you have to be, you know, not fidgeting. And that thing has helped because in terms of self-regulation, you see he's now this proper boy who's able to sit and concentrate. And yeah, so there's a question you asked, did I just do music therapy alone? I was like, no, we have a lot of things that we do with Sudi. There is no one size fits all. My journey is, I have the music therapy, then I have something called PAGS, which is a tool for developing the executive functioning skills of a child. And these are skills that you don't get from books, you don't get from yeah, so these are skills that people just watch and have them. You know, it's like good manners. With neurodiverse learners, what I have learned with Sudi is that some things are not obvious, like riding a bike. He could watch other kids ride bike, but he couldn't fathom how you cycle. So we had to buy him a stationary thing for him to cycle first, for him to be able to ride the bike. So with neurodiverse learners, you actually have to teach them everything. You have to teach them emotion, and that's why I'll come to PAGS. PAGS is one of those things that PAGS is one of those things that builds a kid's emotional maturity, self-regulation, and cognitive abilities. And so that and music therapy has really helped. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Pauline. You know, when you've said that music had a wholesome, the therapists believe that Joanne had a wholesome approach when relating with your son. So what are some of those, you've mentioned the posture. What other thing did you note picked up so fast out of that engagement?
One, and with all mothers there who have autistic children and neurodiverse, these kids don't like people who scream. I talk loudly, but my family knows it. I've learned to tone down. So I think the first thing is the demeanor of the teacher. Joanne is a very calm person, very, very calm. You'll never hear her raise her voice. And she has this pleasant face. Yeah. So kids also tend to gravitate towards somebody who is nice, who have a good spirit. That's one. And two, the methods, the approach she uses. So she doesn't follow, I'm sure she has a career and she'll explain, but I didn't see her because my firstborn has also done the grade 1, the music, and then they had a set curriculum. She said now she doesn't follow that. How she prefers to go through this. So she's taught herself how to use different approaches, and most of them are multisensorial. Yeah. So I'd always thought music for Sudi would be, you have a keyboard labeled with 1, 2, 3, 4, so now you go like this. It's like, no, but he reads. So I leave to Joanne to explain that, because to be honest, I did learn music. So for me, I'm always lost. Even when he asks me, Mom, I can't find the D or the C sharp, I'm like, I can't help you. But I think for what has worked with Joanne, one is a demeanor, and I think two, she also understands. So she's able to be flexible enough if she finds, because Sudi, just like any neurodiverse, sometimes they get fixated on things. Like now he's fixated on clocks. So he will bring the clock to the lesson, and then she will say, that's fine, bring the clock, but we're not discussing about the clock. We put it here. And when you do this for me, then I'll give you time to discuss the clock. So that ability to be able to be flexible in your approach and to understand that these kids are not doing things because they are being naughty or they are being cheeky. You understanding? Of course, there's naughtiness and cheekiness, but most of the time she comes from a point of, let me meet them at how they are today. That flexibility, I think for me, has been what has really worked with Sudi and Joanne as a teacher. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. So maybe to us, to caregivers, me being one of them, one of the things we should look out for when we are looking for a music therapist is flexibility, just learning from what you said in their approach as they use music as a tool to, engaging with our children. Also calmness, the demeanor, and of course, being knowledgeable about what they're doing. Yeah. Thank you, Pauline, for that. Would you recommend music therapy to a caregiver of a child on the spectrum?
I think so, because the research has shown that music actually opens up and connects the dots, that does the connection to the brain. And I can tell you what we have as SUDIs, education assessment, and what is able to do in music, there's a disconnect. And when I ask the experts, they're like, we have never discounted that music can actually help. So what Sudi is able to do at the piano, and I think for me, I would strongly recommend parents of, and remember, kids in the spectrum are different. Once you're able to do, I think even self-regulation, I think for in my experience, music actually has helped Sudi self-regulate and open up parts of the brain that were not accessible to us. Of course, there's also maturity, because now he's going to be 12 in August, isn't it? So there's just like a fine balance. And I know I talk with Joanne quite a bit, and she tells me she has even kids who are younger, and she is seeing positive results. Yeah, so I would highly recommend, because you have nothing to lose. The brain is a complex organ. Sometimes there's a lot of evidence out there. I think music should be just one of the therapies that you should try, because for us, it has worked. Yeah.
Well, let's first put a pause there. Thank you, Pauline. We have learned quite a bit from you, and we will talk about PADS later on towards the end. But for now, thank you for the vulnerability, and just hearing it from a fellow caregiver, I think puts a different perspective on this discussion. So I want to bring in Joanne, so that she can also pick it up from there. Joanne, karibu sana, and just tell us a bit about you and what you do, and carry on with the presentation. And then the questions, we shall pick them towards the end. So Joan, you're most welcome.
Hi, thank you so much. My name is Joan Karanja. I am CEO and founder of Music in Color, and I'm a music therapist. So that's me in a nutshell. I'm a mother, an avid lover of what music can do, and having seen it work for the better part of the last 12 years on children, neurodiverse children to be specific, and just happy to be able to work with amazing children like Sudi and all the rest of my children that I work with. Yeah. So how do I start this presentation?
Okay, Jan, tell us a little bit, maybe for somebody who is coming into this space for the first time and hearing about autism. In brief, what is autism and what is music therapy?
So autism is, yes, a neurodevelopmental condition that mostly displays itself with social aspects. That's the most, I think, the easiest way to describe it. Children who are unable to cope with society in the way that we deem the norm is what I would describe autism as. They have challenges, with learning, social skills. They're very bright. I think what I love most about autistic children is how their brain works. And they're very intuitive. I think that is something else I would want to mention about autistic children, their intuition, their ability to know a person deeply and the environment. They're also very observant and very keen. They have obsessive behaviors, they like that one thing. And I believe if we were to notice what that is at an early age and just help them along with it, they would really excel. And they love music. Every child from from zero, it's the first language you speak, and for them it's the best way of communicating, mostly because it works on the same level as the speed of how they process information. That's what makes music so powerful. Yeah. So music therapy. What is music therapy? Music therapy is using the naturally mood lifting properties of music to help either children with special needs or individuals who have any mental challenges live their best lives. So it helps them cope with emotions. It reawakens parts of the brain that might have been affected either by any trauma or delay in development. That's what music does. And music therapy is actually highly scientific and has a lot of science in it and neuropsychology within it. So, and that's what I'm actually trying to bring out to the world, that music therapy, there's a lot of science. Music is just not the art. The art is a pretty part. But what it does is it's so much more. And that's what I want to actually now have the chance to talk to everyone about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Joanne, for laying the foundation. Now, for most of us, probably this is the first time we are interacting with a music therapist. So is this actually a field that's in our academic systems? Is it, are people taught music therapy in Kenya, or just tell us a bit of that, and where can people find music therapists so that now we also now go on to the presentation?
I am happy to report that the government has actually made strides, especially in the TVET sector, that they now have courses on music and child development, and also music for other activities, and music therapy falls under that. So that for me is amazing to see that they're finally embracing that. For the longest time, I've been alone and training teachers through what I have learned and the experiences that I've had. But I am really happy that the government is making strides, especially in the Tibet program, to have that happen. And that means there are going to be more of us out there, and which is really important because the number of children who are presenting themselves with these neurodevelopmental challenges are increasing. And to be honest, music is the best first early intervention for these children. That one I can say outright 100%.
Wow. Okay. Maybe you can quantify that a little bit, the best, because I'm sure, as caregivers, the first things we hear is start with speech, start with occupational therapy or the other therapy, but rarely music.
Mm-hmm. The problem with that is that most people don't know it exists. even after assessment, your assessors don't know that music therapy actually exists, so they would not refer it to you. It hasn't been something that's recommended early on before. But why it's the best? It's because it's the first language that children speak. That's how children know their mother's voice. Because music, it's the very first part of your brain that starts getting active when within the womb, within 16 weeks, is actually the musical part. And that is how we get to know our mother's voice. It's through the music, the part of the brain that processes music, which is the whole brain, the most fascinating thing. And so we start with music really early on, even before we are now conceived. And after that, when that happens, then there's a lot of singing that we do to our children. The very first thing they hear are songs. Nowadays, everywhere. You have Cocomelon, and you have what is this, Pink Fong, Baby Shark, and everything. So music is really there a lot in the child's first years. But also it's because it's the one thing that the brain is able to understand easily. Speech for children who are below the ages of 7, the brain takes longer to process just speech than it does to process music. So communicating to a child through music is much easier for the brain to understand. This is information it can now break down and now be able to work with. But if you just talk to a child, it takes longer. And that's why speech therapy sometimes takes a longer time to help the child than it should. So for speech therapists that know how to use music, the results are much faster. And that's why we're really trying to work with speech therapists to have them now use music within their sessions as much as possible. And so if you start with music therapy from the beginning, it's immediately after diagnosis, you start covering things with speech development already. You have your OT covered there. You have your, if your child needs physical physiotherapy, it's covered there because we are singing, we're dancing, we're moving our bodies. So music actually does a lot at the beginning as an intervention. So before you go getting all these others, the speech therapy, the physiotherapy, the OT, music therapy is already covering it in a way that is fun, number one, for the child, because that's the best way the brain learns. When the brain is having fun, it will learn. And then number two, it's able to process the information. So it's like, yes, I know what it is that I'm supposed to do and I'll execute it. If there are parts of the brain that are yet to develop, then the music goes in and starts working. And that's the most important thing about it, is that music doesn't need permission to touch any part of your brain. It just goes and opens and wakes everybody up and things are happening. And that's why it's important. I always say between the minute you have your child diagnosed or begin to notice something is happening, get music therapy started. Do work with it for at least 3 years. And then if you need to add on something, so be it, because it's also a really good complementary therapy.
Okay, thank you. You've mentioned speech. Let's go a bit deeper. Now, you've said there are few music therapists. So as a caregiver, what can a caregiver do, for instance, to address issues to do with speech at home? You just do, is it a song like Come If You're Happy? And how do you engage? Are there techniques that a caregiver needs to probably, engage?
That word, engage, you need to engage, because if I say music is important, then you go and play it on the TV or on the radio, but you don't engage with the child, then you're not engaging the mind. There's that conversation that needs to go on. So singing to a child, singing with a child is much more important than just playing music in the background. You have to be there. because the emotional connection also helps in development. So singing with your child, having them look at you, clapping together, like you said, that the example of the song, if you're happy and clap your hands. You see, you're coaxing something to happen. That means you're coaxing the brain to talk to the gross motor skills and to have an action happen. And then you want to repeat that, repetition, that's the key. And that's why music works, because it's very repetitive. By the time we're finishing playing a piece, we've probably played it over 50 times. So the brain has really learned, it's gotten time to learn and understand and process. So repetition, have the same song every day at a particular set time. That's the other thing, especially if you're trying to train your child on anything, whether it's feeding, it's potty training, you want to be repetitive on a particular song at a particular time. So you connect that and things just become really easy for your child to learn. That's one of the ways you can use music therapy at home.
Thank you for that. Make it fun, repeat, engage, sing along with them. If I can just like summarize what you've said there, and make sure it's at a set time for a particular activity.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, let's go to, you want to address fine motor skills,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to use music. What
Mm-hmm.
techniques can a caregiver use?
Have them learn an instrument. That's as easy as I can get it. Have them learn an instrument and let it be a melodic instrument. Before, what I would see with people trying to use music therapy in the past is a child would come in a session and they would be the one playing the instrument. So a music therapist plays the instrument like the video you shared, and the child sings or does the activity that the music therapist wants. So that develops a particular part of the brain, which is good. But if you want to now develop the fine motor skills, you want them to take up an instrument. And I always recommend the keyboard as a start because it's the easiest and yet the hardest. That's an oxymoron. It's easy because it's easy for them to manipulate their fingers on the keys, as opposed to a guitar that would need coordination, too much coordination, and then you need to control the strength of the child. And at that point, they are not yet ready for it. Eventually, they will be. So starting with an instrument like the keyboard or the piano is good because it's also a hard instrument. Most of my first sessions are banging on the piano a lot, which is, I love my first sessions. They're chaotic, but that's what they're supposed to be. So banging on the piano, being able to regulate also the volume, having them play the piano as a start is what helps develop fine motor skills, because now they learn to use their thumb. They actually learn to understand what the thumb is. You see, that's one thing we don't understand. When you say where is thumb came, you're thinking like, hey, you'll figure it out. It takes time. It takes time to know that this is my thumb and this is, I can make it do a particular thing. And then going all the way to your 10 fingers. And we have books that call 10 little fingers, because the communication between your fine muscles and your brain is something that needs to be developed over time. And that's why playing an instrument is key, because there's a lot of that repetition in getting to understand who your thumbs are and who your pinkies are and all that. Yes. So have an instrument, make them learn an instrument. That one is mandatory. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, maybe we have a parent who's up country or cannot afford a piano. What's the alternative?
Buy a keyboard. Keyboard, you can start with the really tiny baby ones, and upgrade. Just these. I honestly think there's no excuse. Nowadays, the instruments are coming they're affordable. Okay, they're affordable. You can get them from as small as you want to start with, and then just grow from there. Because at the beginning, you're just learning the 5 fingers. So you just need a keyboard that has 5 keys, Then now the other hand, 10 keys. You can get a 10-key keyboard, you are set. All right, so start with that.
Okay. Okay, we hear you. Thank you. Let's go to the gross motor as well. What can a caregiver do at home, and what tactics and which maybe kind of music genres?
Mm-hmm. Dance. It's something that most people don't do nowadays, that children need more than anything. Dance. Put music and dance with your child. Just do movements that they want to mimic. Just learn a dance routine with your child, as simple as it is. Step forward, step back, hands up, hands down. shake. Those are the things that you want your child to learn to do. So put music and dance with your child. That's as simply as I can put it. And it does so much, because that's what our group dance sessions are about. The children come, there's music, we dance, and that develops the gross motor skills. So that is something that you can do at home. And that will really also be good for you as a caregiver, because it will produce oxytocin, which is a bonding hormone between you and your child, and it also produces dopamine, which is the happy hormone, and which is also very key in how we learn. So one thing you'll notice about me as I'm talking, I'm very sciencey, so I'll throw in hormones here and there and some sciencey terms, but it's to understand that whatever music is doing as a therapy is heavily and seriously backed by science and neuroscience.
Yeah. Wow. I can see a few questions are coming in, but we will take them. Before we do, let's talk about self-regulation. How does music help? What do you do? How do you use it to help your child regulate themselves?
So the first thing we need to understand is how music helps in self-regulation. So there's a part of our brain, the front part of our brain is called the prefrontal cortex. Now, for most children, most neurodiverse children, that part is very active. To give you an example is how a child would be is when you're trying to sleep and your mind can't shut up. That constant nagging, telling you all these things that you don't want to hear and you want to quiet it. So that would be a neurodiverse child 24/7. Okay. Now, what music does is that it has the ability to quiet that part of your brain. So when they're listening to music, especially when they're playing an instrument, that part of the brain quiets down. And for them, that is solace. It is finally entering a room that's just silent. And that is what you've been looking for. So that is how music begins to help them self-regulate. Because most of the quote-unquote tantrums that they have is due to overstimulation. There's too much sensory overload, and they need to calm it down, but they don't know how to do it by themselves. So now learning music, learning an instrument, constantly having music in their life and in their world helps now the brain learn how to calm itself down. So after they learn, for example, playing an instrument over time, the brain is very good at knowing where to go when it has a problem. So when there's too much stimulation, the brain will remember what it does to quiet down. So they either remember playing the piano or start humming a song to help themselves self-regulate. And that's why music therapy is so important, because it teaches them how to do it by themselves. You see, and that's the most important part. So you get to see all these other behaviors that come from the tantrums or being overstimulated. They're able to now be in control of them. And you start seeing a much calmer child over time. And that is why it's so important. So that's the science behind it. That's why music works. Yes.
Wow. Okay. Is there a particular type of music that, especially for calming the child, or type of instrument that we can, a caregiver can use?
So the type of music that comes, everybody develops the love of music. So as a child grows up, they like different types of music. And I always say, use the music that they like. Now, when they are young, you have yet to learn and to pick specifically what they want. So depending on how they are, what you want to do is to look at different elements of music. Okay, so we have things like tempo, we have things like dynamics. So tempo is basically the speed of music. You have how loud, the music is as well. So you want to go for soothing music. What you'd use, for example, for a lullaby, something soothing, something calm, something with a slow beat. Because what happens with the rhythm or the tempo of music is that it actually at times matches your heartbeat. So if the child is acting up, you want to lower their heartbeat, you want to lower, the emotion by using music that's going to be calming to them, because now their body will match the music that they're listening to. And there's scientific proof of this, of when you listen to calming music, it actually balances your vitals, your BP and all that. So that's what it is that you're looking to do. So use calming music. If you want them to be excited about something, it's exciting music. Okay, so depending on what it is that you want the child to feel or how you want the child to act, then you have to be very conscious about the music that you're using. And then again, repeat the same music once it works. Once it works. So you also have to be very, very observant on how the child reacts to the music. Because you might play something calming, and then after you have to be looking at how does this child react to it for, you want to look like a minute, 2 minutes, what's the reaction? Okay. And then you also want to be close to that child at that time. And if you can hum the song that's playing, that becomes even more powerful. Okay. Then rocking back and forth, helping them now to calm down when the music is there. If you are able to sing something soothing, the better. Okay. The voice of the mother, the voice of the caregiver always works 100 times better than just recorded music. So even when playing anything in the background as I'm teaching my students, and they're having, a meltdown, I am always there to sing, and it helps them calm down that much faster.
Wow. Okay. I see. We see the questions. We'll be taking them just as we move along. Talk to us a little bit about growing cognitive skills using music.
So I mentioned that the first time that we get to interact with music is when we are 16 weeks. And I believe in the geniusness of God. There's a book that says that music helps in growth. So the first thing, when you develop the heartbeat, the rushing of the blood in your veins, that's music. And that's the first music that also children listen to when within their mother's womb, which now speeds up. It actually causes the release of a hormone that helps in cell generation, so it's growth. Okay. Now, other than that, listening to music for children who are like 3 years old helps increase spatial reasoning, going to spatial cells. So this is the part that develops math skills and helps in analysis and listening, especially to things like classical music. And people always ask, why classical music? Can they listen to something else? Anything that is complicated, the brain has to really pay attention to it and understand it more. So a simple song that just has a melody and a harmony, the brain won't really, it's easy. I'm like, it's na 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 na, and then there's a drum there, so it's not much work. But classical music has so many different harmonies and layers and instruments playing that the brain is like, okay, what is that? What is this? So it's analyzing so many things at the same time. And what it's doing is that it's also learning. And that is what the brain loves to do most. It loves to learn. And so cognitive development starts from there. The fact that the brain is able to take in something complex, yet enjoy it, and then break it down into different levels and begin to understand. And a song as simple as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, why do children know that before they actually interact with the letters? And they're able to keep that information, you see? So the ability of music to just move in and help the brain learn easily and fast. That's the other thing. And I think that's why Pauline would say she doesn't understand how Sudi has been able to move so fast and be able to, read the notes. Is because it's once the brain gets a hold of what it is that's doing through the repetition, through the seeing, the rest just takes off. Honestly, I hope that has answered your question.
Yes. Now, Joan, let me just take you back to, again, the right age to start music therapy for a child.
0.
0, okay.
Start them the minute you have your child. Start them even when they're in your womb. Again, I've experimented this. Start listening to music early on. Okay, start playing music for your child when they're in your womb. There has been trials and tests done in the West for children who have been born premature, so preemies, that are in NICUs. And what they realized is that over time, the children start developing, yes, physically, but there's always a challenge in their neurodevelopment. And that is where they were able to, like, why, how can we make sure that the brain is also developing the way it should? And this is something that we should not take for granted as mothers, that you singing to your child, your heartbeat and the blood within, that's music to your child during that time. So in case a child is born premature, they are taken away from that music. And then they are put in a room that has shuffling feet, things beeping here and there, other children, babies crying. So what that does is that it raises the stress of the child. So this is a child that has been born prematurely, yeah? Now, what they started doing is that they brought in now music therapists to those NICUs. And what they realized is that other than now balancing the vital signs and stabilizing them, is that the neurodevelopment of that child became better. Their brains were able to now develop the way that they should have, had they still been in their mother's womb. So having the mother come in and sing to the child, having a music therapist come in and just play soothing music for the children, that actually helped their neurodevelopment become better and stabilize and follow the process that it should have. So that's why I'm saying 0. Have music in your child even before you hold them in your arms. Once they are born, continue. Play the same music that you used to play. Most of my family always wonder why my daughter is so disciplined with sleeping time. And I'm like, I figured this thing out before I held her in my arms. I used to play the very same music for her at the very same time, and she would rest, she would go to sleep. When she finally came into this world, I followed the same procedure. Anytime it was time for bed, I played the same music and she was out. I never had a problem with my daughter. And until now, anytime we tell her it's time for bed, she goes to bed without a fuss because her brain already learned that at this particular time I do this. And if in case there's any discomfort, I play the same music. I can tell you within 15 seconds, hey, before the music gets to her, she's asleep. And start it early. Whatever you want to teach your child, whatever activities you want your children to learn, potty training, eating well, or music, same time. Repeat, same music, same time, repeat. It works wonders.
Wow. Repeat, and I also hear routine.
Routine. routine. That is the word. And be disciplined with it. Be disciplined with the routine. Whether your child is neurodiverse or not, it's the key to their development, you know, because every child requires a routine, more so those children with neurodevelopmental challenges, because systems work for them so well. And it helps them now know where they need to be, know what they need to do, and not waste time. And that's why their brains to me are just amazing, because they function at a higher level than the rest of us, who the quote unquote typical. And to me, they're brilliant. You know, the brain wants to take information and use it as it should, and it does not waste its energy. You know, and so they're the best children to teach and learn anything that is complicated.
Well, thank you for that. So now take us through using music for visual perceptual skills.
Mm-hmm. So there are different levels of visual perceptual. So we have visual sequential, we have visual memory, we have visual form constancy, and then we have visual figure round. Now, what I've noticed that these children have a problem with is mostly now what I would call visual form constancy. So seeing the same thing, so you see something and then you need to match it to something else. And you know, you'd think, for example, you give a red block and then you put a blue block and then another red block. Okay, so you ask them to name the first one. They'll say red. The next one will be blue. The next one will be a different color. And you'd wonder, why aren't you seeing that this one is the same as red? And you do the same as, like, we're playing piano, for example, and they have to learn the same note at the first place. So you have your C, you've colored it red, you have your D, you've colored it green, you have another one you've colored yellow. And then you color another one red. Then they'll be able to say C, D, E, And even though the next color is red, just as the first C, they'll go to F. And you're like, but it's the same color. So it takes time for them to actually know what that is. But visual memory, seeing something and being able to replicate it, that one they're good. And that's why we usually say these guys have photographic memory. They don't forget what they have seen. You see, they have seen it this way, they'll see it again and remember. That's it. Okay, so it's not the whole thing, it's just different aspects that you want to work on. Also, they're very good at picking out faces and being able to tell you that, or not trusting a person based on what they have seen. You see, so that is also part of the visual perceptual skills that sometimes we as adults take for granted. And I keep telling parents, if your child meets a teacher for the first time and they don't like them, please trust your child. There's something that they have seen that it will take you some time to see, but they were able to see it from the get-go. Or knowing different buildings. The minute they see a building, they're like, I know this building, we are going somewhere based on it. And that's now visual figure ground, like they can tell based on that, okay? So, and then now what I've noticed is parents find a challenge is that now the writing. I have seen it, can I write it? So that one is tied to fine motor skills that you want to develop over time. As much as they can see a C and know it's a C, writing it down exactly as it is, that takes time. Then visual sequential, same thing. What was that explanation? I think it has, it has gotten lost on me. But like seeing a D and a B, and they look the same. You see, those kinds of things. So there are very many layers. And what you need to do as a parent is look at what am I really working on? Because they're not, it's not the whole thing that's a problem, it's just a particular one. And once you identify it, then you can just work on it. Now, how does music help? Repetition. Okay, that part, repetition, that is the key to music, repetition. And then now having somebody patiently help them understand why red and red are the same color and why you need to do the same thing that you did with this one. Okay, so also taking them at their pace, you know, being patient enough to understand that it will take time for them to understand a simple concept. And that's where repetition works. You do it, you repeat, you do it, you repeat. And then sound comes in and rhythm. Now rhythm, there's a principle called the Hebbian's principle in neuroscience. And it says that neurons that light up together, they sing together. Okay, so syncing at the same time, when you're playing something, neurons sing together based on rhythm, the clap, 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 the rhythm that flows in music actually activates this principle. That's why it's easy to learn with music. The rhythm that comes in helps them learn a concept better because of the production of dopamine, which is the happy hormone. It's the happy hormone and it's the learning hormone for people. So when they're learning a piece of music and they're playing C, 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 that C, C, C that they're playing, hearing the melody, that rhythm is now helping the neurons sync. They're syncing and they're syncing, they're learning. And after they learn, they grow new ones. So there's that also happening. There's something called neurogenesis and what's the other word? I'll remember it. But neurogenesis is the fact that brain cells, the brain does not stop growing new brain cells. Neuroplasticity, that's the other word. It means that new neural pathways are developed every day. And that's when you learn a new skill, the brain forms new neural pathways. And now that's what music does. And that's where you see it opening or reaching parts of the brain that weren't there before. It's also forming new connections that were never there before. And that's why it's the best form of therapy. Because the brain is not only learning, it's not only awakening, it's also growing in a different way. Yeah.
Wow. I think a lot of learning going on there. Now, before we bring in the questions, let me just ask just one more question. Mm-hmm. So as we talk about music therapy, there are some of our children on the spectrum who can't stand music. So anytime you put a tune or you go somewhere, maybe with loud noises or something, they'll, close their ears. They want to, you see them place their hands on their ears. So is this auditory defensiveness, or what exactly goes on? Why do they close their ears? Is it that some people really don't like music?
No, there is nobody that does not like music. You might not like a type of music. Even silence in itself is music, actually. But yes, that is auditory defensiveness. Like I said, the brain of neurodiverse children is working, it's always working faster than us, for one. That's why they're also good at noticing things. But two, it's overload, it's sensory overload. So when they go to a place with too much like loud music, even away from neurodiverse children, you yourself, if you're stuck the whole day in traffic and there's honking, and then you're in a loud matatu, you actually want to lose your mind. You want to go mad. But because you've been taught over time to kind of rein it in and just hold it together, were you given the chance to be like this the whole time in the bus? And then when you get home, you want to go right to your bedroom where it's quiet. Then sometimes when you get home and your children are like, Mama, like, just give me 5 minutes. Just, I need to, go back down. So it's the same for them. It's just that they haven't learned how to self-regulate. So the only difference between us and a neurodiverse child who has auditory defensiveness is that we're able to self-regulate how we feel when there's too much overwhelming our senses. They don't know how to do that. So it's not that they don't like music, it's the fact that that volume is too much for them to handle at that point. So you want to avoid playing loud music at all times. It's not good for anyone unless you, and you see, and there are two types, by the way. There are those children who cannot stand it at all. And then there are those who will want highest volume completely. They'll go crank it up completely. And for them, it's also a type of auditory defensiveness because now then they're trying to drown out the noise in their head with something external. Okay, so there are two different things that are happening. And with both of them, you want them to get to a point where it's calm, it's a low, moderate volume. For the child who's going to high volumes, the child who cannot stand high volumes, you want to bring them back down to a moderate volume. So that now their brain is able to process what is happening to them in a calm state. So for those who have auditory defensiveness, you want to, especially if you're working with a teacher who comes and says they're a music therapist, observe what they do on day one. Okay, the first thing they should do is check at what point does that child start covering their ears with the volume of the keyboard. And so if you're buying a keyboard, if you're starting your child off with an instrument, I always recommend buy a keyboard first. Don't go straight to the piano, buy a keyboard first. Because the piano, like an upright piano that doesn't have any way to control the volume, it will be very difficult for your child to play. But a keyboard, because you can adjust the volume, that's where you want to start. So a teacher will come, a qualified music therapist who knows what they're doing, will first check at what volume does that child begin to cover their ears. And at the point at which that child will stop and their hands will be down, that's the volume to maintain throughout. At some point, even as you're playing, they'll want the volume to go high, but you always have to bring it back down. That's one. Number two, also check on when you're singing, there are particular tones that we have within ourselves that are annoying. You ever had a person singing soprano and then it just goes somewhere? And you're like, you see, no, that for you, that's your auditory defensive. They're doing that. What else will be this? So then as you're singing, as you're singing to your child, and then they're like, you're hitting tones that they're too sensitive on. So you want to change your tone of voice. You want to go to a different key, so to speak. You want to, if you're singing soprano, go to alto, because they can't stand the pitches on soprano. So that's what you want to check for with those kids. So it's not that they don't like music, it's just that there are different tones that are affecting them in a way that they don't like. And this is them showing you that this is too much for them. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for that. So we want to take a pause and just allow questions to come in. Please raise your hand. Just ask the question. While you do so, let me start with the first one here that I can see. Once you teach routine with music, are they able to follow the same routine when you withdraw the music?
Yes, they are, but you have to have held it for a good period of time. Okay, so I usually recommend, like for my daughter, I did it for 3 years. And even after I withdrew the music, she would now sing it for herself. See, that's the thing, the brain learns. So when it's time to go like wash your hands, you'd hear her, this is the way we wash our hands. And she's doing it now by herself, okay? Or she'll hum it because now she knows what to do when it's time to do this particular activity. So what by withdrawing, it means that you no longer have to coax her to do it or your child to do it. They themselves, now when it's time, it's like a playlist. It's time to go to wash your hands, the playlist kicks in. Time to go to bed, a playlist kicks in. That's what the brain does. It records, it knows this is what I need to do to achieve this particular task. And it's very good at doing that on its own.
Yeah. Okay. Another one, are there institutions where one can take a child or music therapy? I mean, for music therapy, or where can we access the same?
Mm-hmm. So right now, Music in Color, we are the only ones doing it so far. I know there is also Isola. It's an online platform. They have a music therapist there as well. She's really good. You can either get it on Isola or Music in Color. Yeah, those are the two that I know. There are other, we have trained over 45 teachers, by the way. So they are out there. And what you want to do, any person who comes and tells you, I'm a music therapist, ask them, what programs have you worked with? If you tell you they have worked with Music in Color, you can give me a call. I can confirm for you if we have done it. Or if they're on the Isola, what I like about them is that they confirm your credentials and they're able to keep track of that. So in Kenya right now, those are the two that I know we are doing music therapy.
Music in Color and Isola.
Yes, Isola. Yes.
Okay. So thank you for that. Maybe there's somebody who may be asking for your number as I read the next.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw it in right now.
Okay, those who have pens and papers, 0711 870 577. I'll repeat, 0711 870 577.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I see a comment here. One of us is relating to what you've said. Aha, that explains my son in so many ways. Music seems to just transform him into a different boy, and he loves violin music so much. Wow, thank you for that comment. So you can see it's relatable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we are learning. Now, Joanne, just concerned on what basis does one qualify to undertake music therapy? Let me see that. I'm a special needs teacher, sorry, but interested in doing, trying to scroll. Okay, she's a special needs teacher, interested, I think, in doing music therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So on what basis does one qualify to undertake music therapy?
Music therapy, anybody can be a music therapist as long as you know how to use music to achieve the desired result. Okay, so obviously I'll tell you, take a course with us. We have trainings that go on every month for special needs teachers and music teachers who want to work with to use music therapy with their students, or with the children that they are working with. So knowing and our training goes really in depth. As you've heard, I'm trying my best to not really go into the brain and the dopamines and these hormones. But that's what we do with our training, because as much as you might know that calming music will calm a child, you want to know why. You want to know exactly what part of the brain is it going and touching. Okay, you want to know how to use the music and what part of the brain you're targeting. And you see, that's the difference with what Music in Color does, because ours is science-backed and we are actually focusing on the brain and what music is doing and working with the brain. That is our main agenda. So when you come to Music in Color, know that is what we are working with. So we will explain to you in detail. We are helping regulate your son's emotions, and we're doing that by targeting his prefrontal cortex, and this is what is happening. So we'll give you all the science behind it. We are helping your child develop fine motor skills, and we're doing that by focusing on this part. So we'll break down what is happening in terms of the brain. Okay, because I think that is the one thing most music, we can come and tell you music therapy works. Yeah, but how? Because the generation today of parents, and I really appreciate, is that we want to know how this is happening. It can't be just, it's out there for, no. It's science backed. It's science backed. Okay. And that's what Music in Color does. It's science backed. We use the science of music to aid in the development of neurodevelopmental children or neurodiverse children. Yes.
Thank you for that. When you say it's science backed, I think I'm reminded of science having formulas. So there's a way things, there's a process to get to where you're going.
Exactly. And that's where we've developed our own curriculum that focuses on those processes. We move from level 1 to level 5. So a simple example of what that means, that a level 1 child is a child whose concentration span is not yet to 15 minutes. That is 15 minutes of actually doing an activity without breaking focus. And so these are children who will, won't be able to sit. So when you tell them sit, it will be a run around in class. Then they usually always graduate from that to level 2. So that when they come into class, they know it's time for music and they see me and they know this is what I want to do. So they sit down and we start. Move that to a level 3 who is able to look at a music piece and be able to understand what it is that they're seeing and play it. And all that does that, it translates to other parts of their life and their development. A level 4 is one who actually understands what rhythm is and is able to sequentially play rhythm properly. What that does translates to other parts of their life. A level 5 is one who you give a piece that we have never learned before and they're able to do it by themselves. So imagine that kind of development. From not being able to sit down for more than 5 to 10 minutes without fidgeting, without running around, without jumping on the piano on top, like that's level 1 session. It's a lot of fun. I always tell parents, thank you for the aerobics, because that's a level 1 class. You're running around, your child is on you, and that's what they're supposed to be doing. But when you see them, by the time they're getting to level 2, different person, but they always get there. That's the point. They always get there.
Wow. Well, thank you. How long does that training take, ideally?
For the child or for a caregiver?
For the caregiver.
Our trainings only take a month.
Okay.
They're a month long. There are those who want crash courses, so a crash course you do a week, and that is the theory. We also have now the practical, where you get to work now as a music therapist under us, while seeing now what we do from step 1 to step 5. That one usually takes 3 months.
Okay.
To do the practical. So if you're doing a whole course, you're looking at a time frame of 4 months.
Okay, thank you. I just want to read a comment here. As a grandmother to one of the grandchild, I'm happy to be on board to learn more. Thank you very much. There is another question. How does music impact on self-organization skill of the child?
Self-organization. Music is a discipline, just like sports. And when you're talking about self-organization, you want them to learn how to self-organization, organize themselves. So the first thing you want to do, if you're just using music to help them do that, then have a song for that particular activity. Okay. So, and it's using a simple melody. I like this one, like this is the way we do this. So this is the way we pick up toys, pick up praise when they are done. You do that every single time once they are done with playing with their toys, and you sing it every single time. What that does is that it forms a playlist in their head of the song that they need to go to do that activity. Why? It's fun. 2 neurons that sing together. Okay, so they have learned something new based on that song and they will keep it there. So that is in just a general sense. When it comes now to them learning an instrument and now reading music, music is very organized. Okay, the notes on the staffs, on the bars, and the counting, very organized, systematic, which is something that the brain loves to do. So over time, you begin to notice a very disciplined child in
Joanne? Okay, we will reach out to her, just let her know we've lost her there. Yeah, in the meantime, please keep the questions coming. Yes. Keep the questions coming. Thank you for being here. We are reaching out to her. Okay, all the questions, we can see them. Reaching out to Joanne, we've lost her, but I know she'll be joining us soon. So as we reach out to her, let me share what the video that I wanted to share with us last time, and then we'll bring Joanne on board. So I hope this time it will have the volume.
Hi, sorry about that. My net just cut out on me.
Welcome back, Joanne. Sorry, we were holding break before you came.
Okay.
For you, let me just put that on.
So I don't know if I was able to finish what I was explaining before my net just disappeared or not.
Oh, sorry, welcome back.
So I hope you had the end part of self-organization with music.
Please just redo it again.
Just in case. Okay, so the main points were have the same song to help your child organize. As simple as this is the way we pick up toys, this is the way we pick up toys, pick up toys, pick up toys, something as simple as that. And always play it once you, or sing it, mostly sing it when you want them to do a particular activity to organize themselves, whether it's in clothes or whatever. Just have the same song. And then also having them learning music, learning how to play an instrument. I can't emphasize on how important that is. And I wish parents, and I hope those who are listening to me today will actually do it. Have your child learn an instrument, even if you can sacrifice for 3 years, especially if your child is not yet 7 years old. Like, purpose to have that between the ages of 3 to 7, have them learn an instrument. If you want to stop it after 7 years, it's fine. If you have done the work it needs to do. But the type of person that develops from just learning the discipline of learning music, it's a completely different person. Even mentally, their mental acuity, their level of analysis, their ability to self-regulate. People who have done music and learned music over time compared to those who haven't, even in work areas, they're always placed better. They're much better at it and at coping with different things because of the one thing that if a child learns music for more than 5 years, the brain is actually a different size. There's a part of the brain called the corpus callosum. This is the part that connects the right and the left hemisphere. And it is where it's the part that helps, basically the bridge between the two. So communication goes from left to right and it passes there. So children who have learned music over time, this part is actually bigger. And it means that they have better connectivity on both sides of their hemispheres, meaning the level of analysis is better because the brain is able to communicate better with each other, okay? So scientifically speaking, that's where you really want this to happen. Your child has a better brain, so they have a better life, because the brain is your CPU. Okay, it controls everything about you. So if you're able to give that to your child, please do.
Oh, thank you for that. There's a question here. Does the therapist need any musical background?
It depends on how you're using the music therapy. If you're using the music in color program, yes, because we are heavy on teaching children how to play an instrument. That is what we do. Okay. Other music therapists don't really focus on children learning to play an instrument. It might just be, just them coming into a session and singing and using music to help them do different things, whether it's coach speech. And in this scenario, the music therapist is playing an instrument most of the time. So music background, if you're just going to sing, everybody can sing. But if you're going to have to play an instrument, yes, you definitely have to have a music. So take a short course. We do that in our trainings. If you're coming in, if you want to be a music therapist with no music background, we have trainings that actually now help you get that. So learning how to play an instrument will teach you the first basics of piano, and you can learn as you advance.
Okay.
And it's also good for you. All adults should also learn an instrument. So, get on it.
Wow, that's a good challenge. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, just resonating with what you've said, we have a comment here. Thank you very much, Joanne. I'm learning the power of music, how therapeutic it is, not only the child in the spectrum, but humanity as a whole. We all need music to soothe us from the challenges of life. Very inspiring. Thank you. God bless you and all who are listening. Okay. Then how does music, okay, that one we have done on self. How does music impact on self-organization skill that we've done? The next, can you spell the second organization name for us?
I sent it. Just I, E for ink, okay. Z-O-L-A. That's it.
Okay, Isola. Okay. For the number, it's on the chat. That is your number, 0711870577.
Yes.
All right. My son, there's just 1 minute about my son. My son still loves kids music such as Cocomelon and related. Is it okay to allow him to listen to these types also?
No, because of the first thing I said is engage. Okay, that's the one mistake we are making as parents nowadays. Is you'll put the music and leave it for them, and they'll get happy and they'll sing it. Now, for a child who has problems with speech development, it will take time. Okay, they'll get the song, they'll start singing it, and which is good. But the problem with this thing is that they don't engage the child. So there are those channels that I can refer. For example, Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel is very engaging. So even when she's singing, she's talking to the child. So she's coaxing out speech. Okay. Which was this other one, Danny the Tiger. These cartoons that keep talking to the child, I always used to find them funny, like Dora the Explorer. And then like, what is this? And then they wait for the child to say, as if they'll hear. And for the longest time, I was like, why does that make sense? But the engaging, children right now are not getting enough of engagement from us as parents. So if you're going to put Cocomelon, be there to sing with them. Okay, sing along, even if you're in the kitchen, sing along. That will activate their brain more so than just listening, passively watching. You see, the brain doesn't like being passive in anything. It wants to learn. And dopamine is produced when it's learning something that it loves. So at some point, they're going to listen because it's repetition. And then they'll start singing. And then you're like, oh, they've learned the song. Yeah, but have they learned the words? They're humming the tune. But where are the words? Okay. And you see, like right now, there's a rise in children with speech delay. A rise. And most of them are not even on the spectrum. Okay, it's because there's that lack of engagement. So sing with your children. The music can be the background. Sing with your children. Some sessions I go to only sing with the children. As much as we're playing the piano, I sing. And when I sing, they get the words. Okay, and then now they start trying to say the words, as opposed to just me playing the music and doing nothing. The worst thing you can do for a child between the developmental stages 0 to 7 is being passive. Okay, so don't do anything passively. Dance with them, engage them, sing with them. All right, that's how the music will work 10 times better. So when they're young and you're playing a lullaby in the background, hum. Let the humming and the singing to your child be more than passively playing music in the background. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Engage, engage, and engage. Okay. Thank you for that. I'm interested in the neuroscience. I think I'll combine that with are you based in South Africa, or do you teach online?
We teach online. Our trainings, the theory is online. The practical now is what we are trying to work on, but we're about to put out videos, training videos on now the practical, where you're able to work with us on how we work with the children and step-by-step practical guides on what to do when you're working with the children. But the neuroscience and what it does, that one we mostly do online. So you can reach us wherever you are in the country and access our training. In fact, our next training, we are starting on the 1st of August. So those who are interested, you have my number, you can register. You can just call me and I'll help you register for the training and you'll get all the information that you need.
Okay. Thank you, John, for that. I think this other one you had already tackled it. Do you train the caregiver as well? I'm really interested. I think that one you had already said. Will music therapy work with 10-year-olds?
Music therapy works, yes, 10 years old, 87 years old, music therapy works at every turn. I think our oldest client is 87, to be specific, because we not only work with children, with neurodiverse children, we also work with adults recovering from stroke. So music in color is based heavily on music and the brain. So any condition that's being affected, that's affecting the brain, we come in with music as an intervention. And we have seen it do wonders. And so we train caregivers who are working with children, neurodiverse children. We work with caregivers who are working with older adults who have now neurodevelopmental challenges that are coming up due to age, whether it's Alzheimer's or stroke or whatever else is coming. But yes, music does work with a 10-year-old. If we start it, the earlier you start, the better. And please make sure you're learning an instrument. Okay, don't have a teacher come and they're only learning to play the drums. No, get them a piano. Start with the piano, they'll graduate to a guitar if guitar is what they love. There's a parent who said their child loves listening to violin, they'll graduate to that. Okay, start with an instrument. This is my plea to each one of you. Have your children learn to play an instrument. Start with the keyboard. Okay, your child might love drums, and drums are good because of the rhythm and the gross motor skills. That's what they're working. Okay, but learning a melodic instrument such as the piano, it does 10 times more. Right? It does 10 times more because you're looking at developing that child's brain in the right way. And I can guarantee you, through the experience and the years that I've done this, you will not regret it. And you call me and tell me I tried this and new one, and I'm like, I'll come and see. I'm here. You can quote me. Have them learn an instrument. Piano is the best. And we are, for those who are interested to see, for example, Sudi playing, we have a concert coming up in September. We always have annual concerts where the children we work with come and play. And most parents are like, my child could never be in a social gathering and you're not always worried they are going to run here and there. And kids sit down and perform and are in control of themselves. That self-regulation is one of the most powerful things that music does, leave alone being able to play an 8-page piece. The fact that that child is able to regulate themselves in whatever situation, I believe is the one thing we always look for so much as parents. And that one, I can guarantee you music does.
Wow. Just tell us a little bit more about that upcoming event as I take the next question, so that parents can diarize. I'm sure for many caregivers, that's a desire.
Yes, it will be on the 23rd of September. And if your child has been learning an instrument and you want them to participate, please call me. We are going to add them to the program. If you want your child to participate but has never learned an instrument, we have almost 2 months, so you can register with us to have them begin going through their sessions. We'll be having group music programs on Saturdays, and we are going to inform you on that as well, where they are going to be. So for all this, you have my number. Call me, ask me where it is, and the information will also be on our social media pages. And anything you need to find out about it, you can reach me directly on that number. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now back to the question. Is the 4-month course part-time or full-time?
You can do it part-time. You can do it part-time. For those who want to do it full-time, it takes a shorter period of time. Like I said, for example, the theory, there are those who want to do a crash course, because we usually have, like, we tackle a lesson every week. So we do a topic once a week, and then you have the week to now experiment and go now work at it, actually see it, and be able to use it. So whatever you've learned, you want to see it happening in your life, then the next topic that way. So that's why we do one topic a week, because it's heavy. It's loaded with information. But for those who are able to do a crash course, they're able to, you can do it. You can do the whole course in 2 months. If you're doing it full time, that's the only thing you're focusing on. But the 4-month period is for those who want to do it part-time, where you're engaged in other activities.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thank you for the comment. This is so informative. Thank you for putting this together. I'm learning and soaking in. You're most welcome. It is our joy to learn with every last one of us and to equip as many caregivers as possible with information, because we know its power and it can help transform lives and those of our little ones. Okay, back to our question. If a person wants to be trained and has no music training background, can one be trained from 0 point? How much approximately will it cost, please? I think you'd answered the first part. The cost part is there. Now I think.
So if you're just coming in to first learn, to get a background on music, nowadays music lessons will cost you between 1,500 to 3,500. So 1,500 would be what you're looking at for 30 minutes. 3,600 is what you're looking at an hour. So you can multiply that on how many lessons you would want. But if you're doing music to just start off working, to work with a child, a neurodiverse child, within the first 3 months, you should have enough knowledge to begin with that child, especially if you're taking your training concurrent with now the music in color training, because now you are able to now apply it early on. And you learn the instrument as you teach. I believe that is the best way to do it. And for most part, especially when you're working with a neurodiverse child, it will take you some time before you get to higher levels of playing an instrument. But it also depends, because the minute these children now once the brain understands what's happening and they understand the patterns of music, then it's just they go. They're playing more complex pieces than ourselves, and it's an amazing thing to see. But at least within the first year, you have your first 3 months to get your bearing on what music is, what the notes are, what the instrument is saying, and how to communicate with it. Then you can now start working with a child after 3 months of just doing music lessons. Then you grow from there. And you can teach yourself. Once you have the basics, that's the best thing about an instrument. Once you have the basics, the rest you can do by yourself. So get your basics. First 3 months, get your basics.
Thank you for that. My child's school uses music throughout the ECD classes, even for the neurotypical kids. And I can attest that some of the tips Joan has shared work for self-regulation and routines. Thank you.
An amazing school. I applaud such a school. And that is what we are campaigning for thoroughly, to have music be inside that program properly. And I wish people would stop calling it an extra curriculum, but make it a core. Right? I'm happy that the CBC is bringing music back, but we are not yet there. Music needs to be a core. It should be the first lesson for music children, because what it does is that it wakes up the mind, gets it ready for learning, makes it want to absorb any new information that comes. So that when that child is doing math, they've already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a song. So they're enjoying the math that's coming in. When the English is coming, they've done their A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So that when the teacher is writing the letter A there, they already remember it from the song. So if institutions did that, I can guarantee you the caliber of children that they would be producing would be phenomenal. Music needs to be a core curriculum. And that is why we are intent on having training programs. We are starting with Nairobi County, and we are partnering with schools. If you run an institution, if you know an institution that would benefit from this, please ask them to call me. We are doing in-house trainings for teachers. We have a campaign running now called Partner With Us, Partner with Music in Color, so that we can come in, train your school, train your teachers on how to use music effectively to help with the learning of your kids. Yeah.
Amazing.
So I'm happy to hear there's such an institution. That makes me really happy.
Thank you. You're doing an amazing job. I think we give honor to where honor is due. Yeah. Now your social media handles. Someone is requesting for them. And then is the number you've provided also on WhatsApp, or at least?
Yes. It's on WhatsApp. Yes, that's our official WhatsApp number. So anytime, just shoot me a message, I'll reply.
Okay. Where are you located?
We are located along Kiambu Road. Right now, we are partnering with an institution called Winton House of Music. So our programs are based within that school. We're also working with, we are really intent on having programs within the schools. We have noticed that the need is growing more than we're able to reach. So the best way we have found to address this need is through our trainings, mostly. So make sure as many caregivers as possible have this knowledge and know-how, and also now working with schools, having the programs within the schools. But if you want to come to our centers, you can find us in Village Market at the Winton House of Music, and also along Pindigo. You just go there.
Let me just mute. Okay. All right. So
when you go to an institution, just ask for Music in Color. If you go to a school, ask, do you have the Music in Color program?
Okay.
Now you to us.
Then, Joan, you've given such a golden guide. Kindly, do you have a contact for a music therapist in Nakuru?
Music therapist in Nakuru? Yes, I believe I have a teacher I have trained in Nakuru. We have teachers all over. Okay, so based on where you are, you just let me know, then I'll send a teacher your way. And they follow our curriculum, they follow our program, and I do assessments every 3 months to make sure that the child who is receiving our program is actually following the steps and getting and knocking the objectives the way that they should. So wherever you are, our program is able to reach you. Like we said, we have trained over 45 teachers. We are continuing to train more teachers, and they follow our ethics, they follow our ethos on how to teach, and the love of the job is there in each one of us. So wherever you are, please know that Music in Color can reach you.
Okay. Any programs in Kilifi or offices?
Offices, no, but teachers will be able to reach you. Okay. I know we have trained teachers in Kilifi, we have trained teachers in Nakuru, we have trained teachers in Thika as well, we have trained teachers in Machakos, and they're increasing. The more trainings we do, the more teachers we have, and we will get our program, like I said. And if we don't have, we are doing per county trainings, so we'll get there, and hopefully be able now to open centers. Our vision is to also have music therapy centers in every county, I know it's a big one, but it's something I know we need. We need who are neurodiverse children, people who are recovering from stroke, stress management. Music is the best for all of this, and people are forgetting how to use it. Before, when we could go out and dance the whole night, mental issues were not that much. Nowadays, people just either you go, you drink, and then you just stay in your house and you don't talk to many people. The days when we used to go out in discos, dance the whole night, you are able to relieve stress. You know, something as simple as that, even for us as caregivers and as teachers, we mothers, come on, we carry a lot. We need space to let it out. So if you want to go dancing out, please play loud music, at least like once a week. Just decide to dance the whole night or a Saturday with your children. It will do wonders for you. It is the first step to just making sure your mental health is really good.
Okay.
And also learn an instrument, please. People, learn instruments. It's good.
Thank you, Joanne. I think 3 last. One, do you give certificates after the training?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We give certificates, and then now you are added into our registry. So whenever we have parents, we'll recommend you as Music in Color. And at least now, any parent, based on what we do, they know our program, they know our curriculum. So yes, certification is important. And then now you become part of the Music in Color team, meaning you can go to any institution, use the name Music in Color. They'll obviously check with me if you are part, and now that certificate, now once you have that certificate, say, so yes, we have certificates. We have 2. The first certificate is just for the theory training, and then we have the person who has done all the full training, including the practical. So those ones, the ones who have done the full training are our first priority in joining the Music in Color family because they have completed the program.
Okay. Second one, what entry level do you require, like Form 4 degree? What's your entry level for you to do the course?
We don't have an entry level. We don't have an entry level. All you need to do, if you don't have a music background, we'll offer you that. And the training we give, especially on neuroscience, and it's from scratch. It's from scratch, and it's things that you're able to use from the word go. Okay, so, and we firmly believe in learning through experience. So you get to work with the children, because children, they're different. And that's why going through our full training is important, because you're able now to work with different children, have different ideas on how to work with them. And that is a foundation. And I think what makes Music in Color special is that we don't use just one thing, you know? It's the creativity. When you meet a child, what do they demand from you? So you have to be creative in how you're going to conduct a class. You have to be, you have to be able to adapt to the situation. And multifaceted learning, where you're using colors, using blocks, you're using so many things to just teach one thing. And that is the best way to learn, because in whatever direction that child looks for that information, they'll get it. Because you've used very many things to just teach them one thing. So it doesn't matter how you'll ask a question in whatever direction, they'll still be able to answer you. And I wish that's how children were taught in school, or children are taught in schools. Just don't use just one direction.
Okay, thank you. Last question, do you do special education?
Special education, there's a part in our training that now touches on neurodiverse children and the neurodiverse conditions that are there. And we explain all of them, what they are. So there's a topic, there's a day that we focus on that. It's within our training program, yes.
Okay. Thank you, Joanne. I can see it's 12:52. It's been really engaging. And I want to thank every last one of us. If you have any more questions, just keep sending them. We'll get to Joanne. Okay. There's a raised hand. Okay. Can we just take this one, then we close?
Yes.
Okay. Please go ahead, Mohammed.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Okay, my concern is about, okay, thank you for your program, and I hope that this program will be on and on. Thank you for inviting me all the time. I've been joining. Okay, my concern is about this program. As I was looking at the participants, most of them are ladies. So is there a way that we can also give this chance or sensitize the men so that they can also join? But once I saw that we are only about 3 gents who are in this meeting. And I feel that even us, we need to know this information and we need to take care of these children too. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It's generally for all, even the others that we do. Mohammed?
Yes.
It's also, you're talking about today and the rest that we've been doing as well.
Okay, I've been following this program, but today I've said, let me check the ones who are participating, only to find that the gents are almost 4 or 5 against the big number of the ladies. So if you have any program or sensitization towards the men, also they can join this and we give this information to everyone.
Very true, very true. Thank you for that, Mohammed. We do reach out, I think, you know, as availability, there are different factors, but we do reach out. We could also
maybe the timing of the program also, as you sit down, you can also see what time so that men can also join.
Okay.
Because I believe that if there is that child who is at home, there is also a father. So once these 2 people get this information, they can help this child and being raised in a very good way.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the feedback.
Thank you too.
It's noted.
Okay.
Yes, so we want to wrap this up and just thank every last one of us. Thank you, Joanne. Maybe you can give us your parting shot, and then I'll go to Pauline.
Thank you so much for having me. I have truly enjoyed and getting this opportunity to talk to more caregivers, and I hope for more opportunities like this. My parting shot is music therapy works. It's your best bet in a lot of things. Find a way to incorporate it in whatever therapies your children are doing, whether it be speech, whether it be occupational, whether it be physiotherapy. Let music work hand in hand with you. I can guarantee you whatever goals you're trying to achieve will be met 10 times faster when music is working with you. Let music be a part of your lives. Have music, sing, dance as much as possible. The benefits are there are too many to mention for your children and for you as well. So start them off as early as possible. If you know a parent whose child has just been diagnosed, please ask them to start music therapy as the first one. It's your best first early intervention. From most diagnoses are done maybe from the age of 2, I believe. That's when the conditions begin to really display themselves. So from the ages of 2 to 5, music is the best thing that will work for your children. That much I can guarantee you. From the ages of 5 onwards, you can now bring in the other therapists if need be, your speech therapist, your patient, they can come in from there. But I can tell you between 2 to 5, music will do a lot of the work that needs to be done, and in a way that will really show the results are clear. The results are there. Okay, between 6 months to a year of working with a music therapist, working with our program, you can see the changes. And like I said, annually we have concerts. That means there is proof of the work that is being done within a year. Okay, so it works, try it out. You'll never regret it. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much, Joanne. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you for just helping us to draw from your wealth of wisdom and knowledge. Thank you for working with many caregivers here today. And we hope to share this to many more, and we'll invite you even in future.
I look forward to that. Please do.
Thank you, thank you.
I'll never get tired of talking about it.
Asante. Now, Pauline, our caregiver, please give us a parting shot. I can see we have 2 minutes to time, and just a little bit about PAGS, and then we will call it a day after that. Please unmute.
So I wanted to say that I want to echo what John has said. Music works. I see a parent who said, Sudi started at 11 years old in this. So music works. And Joan is a talented teacher, and I do believe in the institution that she works in, her ethos and ethics. And I would invite everybody, especially neurodiverse parents, parents for neurodiverse learners and children, to actually try music. Because as I said before, when I started off, if you look at Sudi's profile doing with music, it's like night and day. And consequently, because of that interaction with the keyboard and learning music, so many things have opened up for him. So PAGS, I think, Caroline, we will need a separate session. I do not want to rush. PAGS fits well with music therapy because PAGS is what you call an online tool that assesses a child's developmental and cognitive gaps and gives you strategies to meet those gaps. And for me, I think I would ask Caroline to give us another session to discuss PAGS. And we work with actually Music in Color with PAGS. Thank you all for attending, and there is hope.
Okay, thank you, Pauline. That is noted. I think as a follow-up to this, before we forget what we have learned today, we can actually discuss about the coming month. Okay, so I want to thank all of us very, very much. Thank you for taking time to join us today. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you, our participants. May the Lord just bless you. We pray for more grace upon you as you reach out and take care to our little angels. Yeah, may the Lord just give you grace. So from us, we want to bring this to an end today, and we invite you to join us next month, God willing, to probably be an extension of today, what Pauline is talking about, but we will discuss behind the scenes, and we'll get the flyers out soonest possible. So we want to bring it to a close and invite you to continue, just follow us on social media, Gifted Gems. There's so much we have lined up for you the whole month about music therapy. And in other months, there are other things that we also engage in. You'll find us on LinkedIn, Facebook. You'll find us on Twitter. You'll find us, we have our website. So please feel free to engage, send us an email. We are looking forward to just interacting with you. And should you want us to come and talk to your team about autism and just create awareness, let us know. We'll be glad to do so. So from us, it's we want to close with a word of prayer, and it will be bye-bye after that. So I want to request one of us, Grace, kindly close for us with a word of prayer.
Okay, let us pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this meeting. Thank you, Lord, for Joanne. Thank you, Lord, for our caregiver, Pauline. Thank you, Lord, for everyone, Almighty Father God, who has plugged in. Thank you, Lord, because you have allowed us to listen in, Almighty Father God, so that, Lord, we can impact, Almighty Father God, this generation differently, Almighty Father God. May you bless us even as we go throughout our day. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. And God bless you. Please feel free meet next month to live at the labor.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, God bless you, Carol.
Thank you. God bless you too.
Thank you, our speaker today. Thank you for invitation. Bye. God bless.
Thank you.
God bless you all.
Asante.
Bye. God bless you all and musical.
Bye.
Bye.